A great machine. Rested in the cold, dark silence of the sea. It was a CH-47 Chinook helicopter, a titan of the skies, now a prisoner of the deep. For years it lay on the ocean floor off a forgotten coastline, its story slowly being erased by salt and time. The massive twin-rotor helicopter, once a symbol of power, once a symbol of rescue, was now just a shape in the gloom. Sea life made a home of its cavernous cargo bay. Rust, like a slow-burning fire, ate away at its skin of olive-drab paint. The once proud bird of war looked like a fallen giant, a skeleton of its former self, destined to crumble into nothing. It was found by accident. A survey vessel, charting the seabed for a new undersea cable, detected a large, unnatural object on its sonar screens. The shape was unmistakable to anyone who knew military aircraft. It was long, with the characteristic tandem rotors. The discovery sent a ripple of excitement and curiosity through the maritime community. This was not a real, specific aircraft, but a story representing many such recoveries. A believable scenario based on real-world challenges and triumphs in aviation restoration. A recovery plan was not just a list of steps, it was a battle strategy against the sea itself. The team assembled was a band of specialists, a fellowship of the willing. Retired military aircraft mechanics, marine salvage divers, structural engineers, a project manager who could keep a cool head when things went wrong. They gathered around long tables covered in nautical charts and engineering diagrams. Every detail was debated, every risk was weighed. They had to get permits from maritime authorities, proving their operation would not harm the marine environment or create a hazard for other ships. The legal paperwork was a mountain in itself. The choice of equipment was critical. A large salvage barge with a heavy lift crane, a vessel stable enough to work in the open ocean. A support ship for the diving team, the ROVs. These deep-sea robots would be their eyes and ears in the depths. The robots could operate for hours, using manipulator arms to perform delicate tasks. The divers, brave men in heavy gear, would handle the jobs that required a human touch. Every piece of gear, from the thickness of the cables to the air mixture for the divers, was chosen with extreme care. The weather was the biggest unknown. A sudden storm could snap the crane's cables and send the Chinook crashing back to the seafloor, this time perhaps breaking it apart for good. Choosing a narrow window of summer weeks when the seas were historically at their calmest. If they lifted it from the wrong points, the corroded frame could buckle under its own waterlogged weight. The engineers used original Boeing factory blueprints to identify the main load-bearing longerons and attachment points designed to support the aircraft's full weight. Safety was the first, middle, and last rule of the entire operation. The team conducted drills on the surface, practicing the attachment of the slings and the communication protocols. They walked through a dozen what-if scenarios. What if a sling slips? What if the weather turns? What if a diver has an emergency? For every question, they developed a clear, rehearsed response. They knew they were not just raising a machine, they were responsible for every human life on the team. The day of the lift began before dawn. The sky was a pale, clear gray. Over a calm sea, the salvage barge and its support vessels were positioned directly over the wreck site, held in place by a sophisticated GPS-guided dynamic positioning system. The air was thick with diesel fumes, salt spray, nervous anticipation. The dive team went down first, their voices crackling over the comms. Their job was to make the final connections. They attached 4 main slings, positioned precisely at the points the engineers had marked. Slowly, the huge winch began to turn, and the thick steel cables grew taut. The Chinook was held fast by the suction of the deep mud. Then, with a soft shudder, the great machine broke free from its seabed grave. The ascent was agonizingly slow, a few feet per minute. It was a monster rising from the abyss. Water poured from every opening, a waterfall of rust-colored tears. Finally, the top of the pylon for the rear rotor broke the surface. The team let out a collective cheer. The Sea Dragon, back in the world of air and light. With the Chinook hanging, the most delicate phase began. They secured it into a custom-built steel cradle to distribute the load evenly. Carefully lowered, until it rested securely in its temporary metal bed. The team then used powerful pumps, draining thousands of gallons of seawater back into the ocean. The journey to shore was slow and steady, escorted by the support vessel, continuing to secure loose panels and drain remaining pockets of water. The paint was almost completely gone, replaced by barnacles and deep, pitting corrosion. The giant rotor blades were slightly bent, yet the powerful silhouette was still there. They arrived at a commercial port with a dedicated dry dock facility, a massive hangar. The team had nicknamed it the Revival Bay, using the port's gantry cranes and a specialized multi-wheeled transport dolly. And through the huge hangar doors, a sense of relief washed over the crew. The battle with the sea was over. The war against decay was about to begin. The first stage was a bath, to wage war on the salt that had infiltrated every inch. Salt crystals would continue to cause corrosion even in a dry environment. For delicate areas, low-pressure sprays and soft brushes. It was a messy, thankless job that went on for weeks. The true extent laid bare. The aluminum skin was pockmarked, eaten through. The sheet metal specialists moved in, cutting away damaged metal. They worked section by section, like surgeons excising a disease. No original panels existed. Large sheets, cut, bent, shaped by hand. They drilled hundreds, then thousands, of holes for rivets. A rebirth, replacing old with new, one metal sheet at a time. Beneath the skin, they inspected the longerons, bulkheads, ribs. This was the most critical part. Ultrasonic testing, eddy current inspection, scanning beams for hidden cracks. To their immense relief, the beefy construction had held up well. Treated with chemical conversion coatings, the Chinook's twin Lycoming T55 turboshaft engines were its heart, and they were in critical condition. Saltwater is a death sentence for the complex, high-precision components inside a jet engine. Every nut, bolt, blade, bearing was removed, cleaned, inspected, and labeled. They used special solvents and ultrasonic cleaning baths to dissolve the salt and corrosion. They meticulously inspected every component, blades for microscopic cracks, bearings measured for wear. The fuel control units were completely disassembled and rebuilt. Many parts replaced with new old stock or newly fabricated parts. They followed the original maintenance manuals, torqued every bolt, checked clearances often no wider than a human hair. Mounted on a static test stand, the engine coughed to life, ran smoothly, a sound of victory. The second engine followed, another successful milestone on the long road back to flight. Another team tackled the helicopter's nervous system, its miles of electrical wiring. They would replace all of it, tracing each wire through bulkheads and conduits all over the aircraft. Armed with the original factory wiring diagrams, complex road maps, the electricians began their work. They built new wiring harnesses, crimped and soldered thousands of new connectors. A single mistake could cause a short circuit, a system failure, or even a fire in the air. Meanwhile, the hydraulic system, the Chinook's muscles, was getting the same level of attention. They disassembled the pumps and actuators, replacing every rubber seal and every O-ring. They knew a hydraulic failure in flight would be catastrophic, so no shortcuts were taken. Many old analog gauges were ruined. The team faced a choice: hunt for rare or upgrade to modern digital displays. They chose a hybrid approach, preserving the vintage feel while giving modern accuracy and reliability. The cockpit, once a dark and corroded cave, slowly came back to life. The 6 giant rotor blades, some were deemed too bent or corroded, replacements sourced from a military surplus depot. The used blades were in excellent condition, inspected thoroughly for damage and fatigue. The transmission is a mechanical marvel. Power to 2 counter-rotating rotor systems, preventing collision. Magnetic particle testing. Dye-penetrant testing. Tolerances were incredibly tight. Alignment had to be perfect. Each blade in a set must match weight and center of gravity. Seeing all 6 massive blades mounted was a major visual milestone. The silent, grounded machine was starting to look like it could fly again. The day of the first ground run was filled with a palpable tension. The Chinook, fully reassembled and gleaming in historically accurate paint, was towed out of the hangar. The restoration team stood at a safe distance, their hearts in their throats. Pilot 1, Pilot 2 ran the extensive pre-flight checklist. The auxiliary power unit whined to life. Engine 1 roared to a stable idle. A few minutes later, Engine 2 followed, 2 hearts beating. Mechanics checked for leaks, gave thumbs-up signals. Pilots slowly increased power. The rotor blades bit into the air. With a final increase, it rose a few feet, hovering rock-steady. The machine they'd pulled from the depths was flying. After several hover tests, the day for the first real flight arrived. Clear skies, light winds. The pilots climbed slowly and gently. It circled the airfield, its wop-wop echoing. The helicopter responded perfectly, solid and powerful. The team below watched, emotional. Many had tears in their eyes. The ghost from the deep was no longer a ghost. It was a living, breathing, flying machine. Why go to such extraordinary lengths to save one old helicopter? The answer goes far beyond the metal, wires, engines. This restored Chinook is a flying monument, a tribute to engineers, workers, and brave crews. Every beat of its rotors tells a story of service and of soldiers carried safely. The project taught a new generation, preserving a culture of craftsmanship.